5 says we've got two equations, y1 which is a sine graph, and y2 which is a cosine graph. And based on our answers here, we're trying to compare how big A1 is to A2. Which one of these is bigger? So I know a sine graph looks like this. So if this is, oh, some of this got cut off. Could y'all read this on the far left? That's my fault that you couldn't. This is supposed to be, this one's y1 and this one's y2. It got cut off a little bit. So y1 is going through the origin the same way sine is supposed to. So his amplitude is looking something like that. That's how tall his graph is. Whereas y2, cosine naturally hits at 1. It looks something like this. So if he's supposed to hit at 1, that could be higher than 1. They didn't put a place marker there. But this would represent his amplitude. So it looks like the amplitude of the sine graph is bigger than the amplitude of the cosine graph. You see how the sine graph is being stretched out more than the cosine graph is? See, like here's the first part of the cosine graph, and it's right here. So the fact that that's not stretched vertically very much means the amplitude is fairly small. Whereas the sine graph does this, and it's got a much steeper amplitude. Its wave is much taller. That's how I know the amplitude of the sine graph is bigger than the amplitude of the cosine graph. So I knew A1 is bigger than A2, but that still could have been choice E. But choice E, if they had both been less than 0, then A1 would be negative and A2 would be negative, which means that these would have been flipped over, because if you put a negative out front, it's going to flip it over the x-axis. And that doesn't appear to happen. Cosine is supposed to start up here and come down, just like this one. Sine is supposed to go through the origin going up, through the origin going up. So I don't think either of those were reflected, which means they were both positive, and the amplitude of the sine graph is bigger than the amplitude of the cosine graph. So that's how to go to answer B. Is that enough there?